Hello, everyone, and welcome to Earp Sister Feels, episode number 9. My name is Kevin Batchelder, and on this episode, I'm going to be covering the Wynonna Earp episode, Shed Your Skin, which is the second episode of the second season. Hello, and welcome back, everyone. It's always great to have you folks checking out these videos and leaving comments on Twitter, Facebook, and certainly loving the video comments that many of you leave. Everyone's invited to do so. If you are new to viewing these, within a couple of days after I release them, you'll notice that down below is a record a reply button. You don't need a special app or anything. As long as you get your smartphone, you can leave your own thoughts and be included. Everyone is invited. There are some regulars, if you've been watching for a while, that you know that love to comment, which is great, but also anyone can do the same. So don't hesitate to jump in if you have some thoughts to share. We'd love to make this a community rewatch and a community set of videos, so please jump right in. All right, some general thoughts here before we get to some of the details. Those of you who've been watching since season 1 will probably recall that when the season 2 trailer came out, it was I think in about April before we premiered in June or July that year. There were several clips from this episode in that trailer. Now, we actually didn't know it at the time, but we had some very iconic ones, which I'll get into. But I just find it very interesting now when rewatching this episode and realizing how much from this episode ended up in the trailer. Because, we all went crazy for that trailer, so happy that we were coming back for season 2 and getting our first taste of what we were going to see. Obviously, the iconic Waverly cheerleading bit certainly overshadowed a lot of what was there. But many of these scenes and clips are in there. So it's just kind of fun to go back and realize that now. All right, let's kind of move our way through the episodes. As we're starting to see with season 2, we know we're going to have lots and lots of Earp Sister scenes in many of the episodes. Near the beginning of the episode, we do have the two Earp sisters together. Not so much them, but because we've got Lucado and Jeremy and Doc at BBD just kind of talking as Lucado's kind of being vintage Lucado in terms of trying to lay down how things will be. And none of them really care to want to follow her orders. About the only interesting part that we do have there is when Lucado's kind of being mean to Waverly in terms of what she does around there. I love how both Waverly and Wynonna, when she tries to say something rude, both say, hey, at the same time. How much they're on the same page there. And then a little later in the episode, very iconic scene when we have both Waverly and Wynonna there with the spider. The whole scene with the spider and it getting out of the little cocoon thing and then having to catch it in the, the giant wastebasket, if you will. And they've all been kind of beat down by Lucado and everything that's happened. And this is when we get that very iconic quote from Wynonna, no matter what's going on, no matter what happens, this may be a shit show, but it's our shit show. And come on, how many of us have now quoted that? How many tweets have included that? Rallying cries, describing our show to fellow fans. How often do we go to that one? So that was a, pretty iconic one there. Also, when we go back to the homestead, we have Wynonna and Waverly in the bedroom again. And this is when Wynonna tells her the fact that she had the shadowy figure over at, the building that Mercedes is kind of, they're developing there, and the smell of Shalatel, and wondering if it's Willa and it's her ghost. At this point in the story, first time through, that made a lot of sense that it could be. So that was pretty interesting, and Waverly coming up with the idea that, if you want to try to get rid of a ghost, the idea of, exorcising it by burning everything that belonged to him. So that whole fire that they set up outside the homestead with all of her stuff, pretty interesting to see that play out here. And then a little bit later on, when we end up back at that building, and they come across, the two of them in the basement, they come across all of the, the spider eggs. And they crack open the door, they see all the eggs. Waverly's kind of wondering what they're going to do, to get the team together. And again, another one of our very iconic lines when Wynonna says, baby girl, we is the team. We got that on t-shirts now, gang. So again, another cornerstone as far as fandom goes. There's some very important stuff. And then who can forget as they, take their sledgehammers and tire irons and whatever else to all of the eggs, and they make their exit again, to the great song, all covered in slime, the slow-mo hero walk. You can feel my smile getting bigger thinking about that one. Because again, iconic. There's several of them in this episode. And then when they encounter Mercedes, who is, is just caught off guard, seeing the two of them looking so ultra cool And Waverly just so cute in the way she sums it up with, us one, slimy guys, negative infinity. Got to keep the humor in there. And speaking of humor, the other quick scene as they go back to, the contamination shower thing, and Jeremy asks in the typical Jeremy deadpan way of Wynonna, asking if, smashing all of the demon eggs made her wet. And Wynonna, giving him the great reply about, loving her job, but, hasn't bought her dinner in a while. So, again, humor is just right there, spot on in this particular episode. But it also, at that point, too, as they start to talk, they realize that even with the spider that they had captured and the eggs, they realize that these are just the tip of the supernatural iceberg probably at that place. So they go back and find out that, Earl there is dead, and that they realize there's a big bad involved here. And, it's very poignant to have them talking a little bit about, with Wynonna especially, talking about the fact that she's let her boss down. And when Waverly tries to say, well, hey, it's Locato, we don't care. And she's like, no. And we realize it's dolls. And Waverly, really tries to give Wynonna a little bit of a pick-me-up there with the fact that, realizing he'd still be proud of her and all there. So very poignant stuff, very important stuff. Not a lot of dialogue, but important dialogue. Some good stuff. And then we have some stuff that was in that trailer. It's near the beginning of the trailer. It certainly is going to get my goosebumps going when, they start talking about when Wynonna's telling Waverly with all of this that's happening, hey, we're on the Fury Road Express, baby girl. Another baby girl mention. And there aren't enough flaming guitars and gassy generals to bring us down. And, Waverly makes the great comment about, oh, I like when you're scary. Oh man. And again, just that season 2 trailer, because that was around the time, those of us, when we didn't know if this show was coming back, we knew it had been renewed, but until we actually got a trailer, that made it real. I mean, the fact that we had new footage, it's almost like, some of us thought we were in a dream that our show had been renewed. But so seeing that trailer made it real, and seeing so many of these images in there, that's why I'll always have this episode in my mind that way, because it was a big part of what we saw in that trailer. And then we go back to the homestead near the very end of the episode. Wynonna comes in carrying Mr. Plumpkins, talking about the fact that she saved him, and she starts to get very emotional there. She just starts to cry a little bit, and Waverly's kind of consoling her, because Wynonna was talking about the fact that she basically was unable to save Willa for the second time after what happened at the homestead, and then having to kill her there at the end of the first season. Pretty poignant stuff. And Waverly even makes a nice comment about, hey, even, Fury Road's got some pit stops. Before we get the gross stuff of Earp the Spider, but still strong Earp Sister stuff, and certainly some indications of what we're going to have in season 2. So revisiting this one from the Earp Sister point of view was a lot of fun, kind of seeing those, as I said, just cornerstone moments for us in the fandom and for the Earp Sisters. So some great stuff. So looking forward to hearing from you folks. Again, love some video comments. Feel free, for a couple of days this is open, you can go ahead and do so. Or even if you just more the Twitter type of the Facebook, I love seeing them there too. So we're having a lot of fun as we move through the series here during hiatus. So appreciate you all taking the time to watch and comment. Just a total blast here, having a blast, and can't wait to get into some more very emotional season 2 episodes coming up. So thanks again, everyone, and I hope you take care.